as you know, we successfully, we accuracy passed Measure Q. And we're all excited about what Measure Q can do for us. As part of what we believe we should do, we want to share information with as much information with you as you need, as we have, as we can. And so we're glad that you are here so we can talk to you about some of the projects. Now, there are multiple things that Gary put together on this PowerPoint, and he'll go over them all, and there are questions. Now, whenever they're asking those questions, he turn over to me, so I'll try to answer those as much as I can, and being consistent with the answers that I've given in other places. The Vice President Igioso was supposed to have given this presentation, but he has a family emergency down south, so he could not. Because Gary had already done some work for us on this, we thought that it would be much easier for him to make the presentation for us, but I'm here. I delayed a trip to a wonderful place so I can be with you, and then I'll leave right after. You don't need to, Salinas or Salinas? Salinas, yeah. That's better than, no, that's better than Coalinga. I mean, those are the places that CCJC sends me to do accreditation work. So, yeah, that's what I've done so far. We cover Hawaii and the Marshall Islands. Where's the Marshall Islands?
Yeah, Marshall.
Yeah, but they haven't sent me there yet. So anyway, I guess I have to pay my dues first. But Gary will go over things, and so he'll cover some of the steps we need to take. He'll go over some of the proposals that we have for the facilities master plan. And I want you to know that it has not been approved by the board yet, but we're getting close. So we need to hear what you think about the plan, and then the financing. Some things are quite boring, and others are quite interesting. In what he'll share with you, but he himself is not boring. So Gary Moriarty from Kitchen.
Thank you, Dr. Laguerre. If I had to stand up there, I'd be nervous.
Oh, good.
So now, Salinas, you can tell he spent some time in Kansas. Because they pronounce it differently there, don't they?
I don't know. Salinas, that's right.
As Dr. Laguerre said, what I'm going to attempt to do is to kind of review where the Solano Community College has been related to Measure Q, where we are now, and what's going to be happening next. Now, what this presentation includes is it's basically a combination of several presentations. As Dr. Laguerre had mentioned, I think it was December 5th, I made a presentation to the board about kind of the initial next steps, kind of a real high-level overview of what some of the next steps might be related to planning the program. Last week, at a special board meeting, there were several additional presentations made by VP Livioso, Ronald Barkman, the master plan architect, the finance advisors, and the legal advisors. So what I've done, I'm kind of like taken and combined all these together into one, and it should take 45 minutes or so. Now, there's going to be a lot of questions, and so I appreciate the support here, your support, because if they get too hard, I said, well, you've got to answer that. And then the other thing is we got another expert here, so I appreciate you coming, Mike. So Measure Q is a huge undertaking, $348 million. So when we start out looking at something this major, I automatically go back to this quote by Stephen Covey, where you need to begin with the end in mind. And so the end to me is to provide the students with the highest quality educational environments possible, and then to fulfill the promise to the voters, so that everything that they voted on, when the bond is done, has been delivered. And so we start out with the initial stages of these types of programs. You got to always keep in mind where you're going. So here's kind of the magnitude, that's facing, the potential magnitude. As you know, $348 million in Measure Q. We already know that 2 of the projects are getting state funds in the amount of combined $32 million. There is a desire to leverage the bond dollars with additional state funding. Once a state decides to issue statewide bonds, and we're looking also to other sources for private type of funding and other funding. The solar project that Dwight's working on now is an example of how you're able to use other funds to create alternative energy for the campus. So there's a potential of $430, maybe more, $1 million worth of work, and the bond duration is anywhere from 15 to 22 years. And so it's very important to keep kind of eye on the target, because as you go through this, it's easy to get sidetracked and not stay focused. The bottom line is this is all about learning. I'm an architect. We've got our construction folks here, and sometimes we all get caught up in the brick and mortar, and that's exciting, but that's all for the purpose of creating the highest quality learning environments as possible. So as you go through making these decisions, if we're involved, we'll continue to remind you that this is all about. And I don't really expect you to read this, but this is a graphic that kind of shows in detail the process, to go from initial needs to actual buildings. And so, the college has been through a lot of these. We've returned your needs, we've done comprehensive master planning, you have your funding. The next phase is to enter into the actual detailed planning and construction of the various projects, infrastructure, and then ultimately moving and start the learning process. So it starts with learning, determining what your learning needs are, and then it ends with learning. And so that white arrow indicates how far along the college is on this process. There are a lot of, I'm sure a lot of you folks have been involved in this facilities and educational master planning exercise, and you can probably attest that there's been a lot of meetings, there's a lot of information that goes into determining what the facilities needs are that ultimately ends up in the facility master plan. A lot of that has been done. There's another graphic that represents how you start out with goals, do the educational planning, facility condition assessment, developing a facilities master plan, which is nearly complete, and then converting that into a capital improvement plan, which actually defines the specific projects. Where the college is basically in this area right now, to have the money to do some more planning. We had the bond election successful, and it was really, really impressive. There was a lot of pre-bond work done to get to this point. The next stage, and this is one of the areas that people kind of lose track of, is that the planning is not done, because there's additional planning in terms of finalizing the master planning, and probably doing a lot more planning before you can actually start implementing the project. And then the program implementation, starting the design, starting construction. So I want to talk briefly about the status of the master plan. Now, keep in mind that this master plan is done by STU. We're not, Kitchener is not involved in the master plan. So I'm just reporting what was presented to the board last week. But I'll try to answer whatever questions I can. So here's a chart that represents what have been identified on each of the campuses Fairfield, there are 5 campuses. Vacaville, there are several projects, I should say. There's several projects plus acquisition of property. And Vallejo, there's property and acquisitions at Vallejo side. And then there's a couple buildings in property acquisition. This is the current site plan, facilities master plan, as presented to the board. Now, for reference, I know it's hard to see, but this is an overlay of the campus as it exists now. So some folks may have questions about where these proposed buildings go and what's there now. So I just put that on there to reference back to any questions. The priority projects for this campus include the building, the renovation expansion of the 1200 building, the theater, the music drama renovation. That's a combined cost of $14 million. Now I noticed that if you're taking notes, I just want to let you know that Janet is going to be posting this presentation on the website. So if anyone wants it, this is over. And then another project that is priority is called the new student forum, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about these. And then one of the major projects obviously is the Academic Success Center and $38 million, new science and math, and adult Cortec. You can see this project with its $13.6 million state funds, and then the library and academic success center is $18 million. Some of these funds for the building 1200 are going to be released within, I think, the next year, which is great. And so those of you that may not be familiar with the details of the master plan, this is that section of the campus, the current 1200 performing arts building. This is the 1300. It says performing arts, but it's actually fine arts. And then in this location is where the temporary buildings are located that are going to be moved. So this project will include renovation of that building plus this expansion.
What is renovation?
I didn't see it.
It's hard to hear.
Okay, sorry.
Did you repeat that part? The last part, sir?
Okay. Maybe pull this off here. Is that better?
Much better.
Okay, sorry. I can still come down here. I don't stand there. Okay, so getting back to what I was saying is that the existing performing arts facility is there. That will be renovated. This is the current fine arts, even though it says performing arts, it's being renovated now. The current modular buildings, temporary buildings are in this location that will be demolished and used, and that's where the theater expansion will take place. So that project comes to just over $14 million. The new student forum is going to be located in the center of campus. For reference, this is the building 600, and this is the building right now. And I think this is basically in that location of the clock that's out there. And this is going to be like a student union type facility that's going to be a place for students and veterans to hang out when they're on campus. And then the large project, the Library and Academic Success Center, is going in this location. And and of course this is the administration building and the student forum there, so it's going to be in that general location. And then the new science and math, which is another major project, it will be located in that location there. And this is the 700 building and then the 600 building.
And then there's $16.5 million for VOTEC, and they're going to be generally located, obviously, in this location. I know there's discussion about having Autotech, possibly there, but there's going to be some major work being done. And keep in mind that as we go through this process, there'll be a lot of additional planning, programming, meetings, discussions that will need to happen before any of these projects are finalized. And so those are considered the priority projects. But by looking at this particular chart, those 5 projects are the ones that have this kind of brownish tone to them. In order to make them happen, there's going to be a lot of secondary other projects that will need to happen, in terms to be able to move people out and swing space and that type of stuff. So there's a whole series of other projects that will be happening simultaneously. So on this campus, it's like building a puzzle. I mean, there's a lot of different things, moving parts that you'll deal with, because of the fact that there's so much being done to existing buildings, whether they're demolished or renovated. And then we move on to the Vallejo Center. And Dr. Laguerre was here, I would joke with him because he and I have a bet. We're both betting the same thing after attending a couple of the board meetings. The existing building is located there on this plan, and according to this plan, there's a new facility that is closer to the road with a bridge going across. The functions are going to stay the same, but the board is not too pleased with this solution. So I think the master architect is going back to the board and look at another solution to put these buildings in this location. And as I said earlier, some of the money, $9 million, is going to go for property acquisition. They're looking to develop a potential auto tech facility in that location. There's going to be a new career technologies, a new multidisciplinary classroom lab building, which is a major project. And the good thing that they've done is because of the duration of this bond being 15 to 22 years, that there's money being budgeted for future renovation or projects that are unknown, the $22 million. So that's a good thing to be doing at this time. And that's, I already told them about our bet.
Oh, really?
So anyway, so if you want to add anything to that.
No.
Okay. And then we move to Vacaville. I got them straight today, this afternoon. Kind of transposing it. And the existing building is in this location. There's new construction going to be proposed in this location and here, and then down here, and I'll drill down on those a little bit more. And these are the priority projects at that campus. The multi-science and biotech building, $29 million, corporate training center, and aeronautics is actually not on this particular campus, but it's going to be at the Nut Tree Airport. And Dr. Laguerre has a tremendous story about that, and I don't know if you want to talk about, because I think that's a unique solution.
How did they get you to use the microphone? Oh, they couldn't hear you. The story is that as you know, our aviation program has been or was on the discontinuance list. So we wanted to shut it down because it 4 or 5 years ago it had 5 or 6 students in it. Right now, if you go there, it has over 40 students, about 50 or so students they have. And so they have outgrown the space that we have for them. And somehow, some citizens in the area decided to honor Jimmy Doolittle, who was a World War II veteran, hero. They wanted to build the museum at the base, but dealing with Department of Defense ended up being too hard for them to do. So they decided to move it instead to the Nut Tree Airport and deal with the city of Vacaville and the county of Solano. So they're finding that they're almost the same as dealing with the DOD. So Anyway, but what happened, because they're so close to us, and we need to expand anyway, and we would need to ask the county for land to be able to do that. So we approached them and said, would you be interested in the college co-locating with you, co-locating our aviation program with them. A lot of that was in the back of my mind as I started to think about this is that we really don't have airplanes to give the students to work on, and you have to see the things that they're working on. It's really not worth what it should be. So if we co-locate with the, and the museum has a big problem. The problem the museum has is that it is volunteers that have been refurbishing the airplanes, repairing them, and do those kinds of things for them. The average age of the volunteers is about 70 years old. So these wonderful volunteers who may be here for another 100 years decided that they'd like to train, young people to help, but there are no volunteers. And in this case, we would have access to the planes would have the volunteers to work on, and it's really a great partnership between the college, the community, City of Vacaville, Solano County. So we're looking at a public-private partnership in that. At the same time, as you may know, if you want to have a meeting where you want for 1,000 or 1,500 people to sit and participate in the meeting, you cannot find that kind of space in Solano County. Part of the museum will be that kind of space. We have been interested in a corporate training center where we can have that kind of space to do training and that kind of thing. So we decided that we'd partner with them for both the corporate training center as well as improving our School of Aeronautics. We have the potential to double the size of the program, to have a daytime and an evening program. And so it's really an exciting thing, and we know that we're going to, if indeed it all comes true, we're going to have a tremendous opportunity to really expand what we do, not only in the additional number of students that we will have, but also the kind of training that we'll be able to provide.
Thank you. I noticed that you're all kind of getting a kink in your neck when you get instructions, so I kind of stretch it the other way. Is that better? I don't want anyone to come to tomorrow. So I think that that's really a creative and exciting, solution, and I'm really impressed, of the creative thinking. So then, moving forward, we have the agricultural building and Dwight's new home someday, an M&O facility, and then again they're allocating nearly $20 million for future slash renovation type projects that may come up from time to time, and then a new fire training facility. The science, multi-science and biotech facility is in this location. The agricultural building is there, and the M&O facility is in that location. One of the things that Dr. Laguerre mentioned is public-private partnerships. And actually, the college has entered into another public-private partnership with a company called SunPower to finance, design, and install solar panels at each of the campuses. And this is the location of those PV panels at this campus, and that's going to be installed as this new parking gets constructed. So that's there's funds that have been brought in to do that. In the end, it's going to the college is going to realize $600,000, I believe, a year in savings. And then this needs a further study, but towards the front of the site is a proposed location for a fire academy, and I know there's more work to be done in that. The next steps, according to this presentation, are fairly consistent with what we believe needs to happen. This is a high level, really high level, master plan, and so as we move forward, there'd be needs to do additional accessibility studies, security, safety, and traffic. I mean, we think that those are extremely important. Technology, study and plan, infrastructure assessment, signage, wayfinding, and trees. Obviously there's a lot of trees around here. The horticulture is really important. And then there'll be some additional planning as we move forward, to get from where it is to where we're ready to start putting shovels in the dirt. After the bond, there's certain procedural matters that need to be taken care of, and I believe in one of the board meetings in February, the board's going to actually certify the results of the election, and that sets several wheels in motion. Within 60 days, I believe, the bond oversight committee needs to be set up, and the discussion at this point is that Dr. Laguerre has asked, and the board has asked, I think, the existing bond oversight committee for Measure G to continue on in that role for Measure Q, and then also expand, the number of members by couple to represent the entire county. And then we're going to talk a little bit about selling the bonds and actually managing the bond program. Piper Jaffray gave a really interesting presentation, a lot of numbers about about selling the bonds. They went through some detail in terms of various different scenarios that they looked at. The important factor is that the voters were told that their taxes would not increase any more than $18.99 per $100,000. That is the parameter that has not changed and will not change through the duration of selling these bonds. They looked at several scenarios, and there's potential legislation that it would impact this, but the bottom line is where they're at now is, and I think there's going to be another presentation to the board in the next couple of weeks, that they're going to propose that the first round of bonds, remember we've got 348 million that can't all be sold at one time, but the first round of bonds is going to total 120 million. And then based on this scenario, in August of 2018, there would be another 70 million sold. So if you look at 120 plus 70, that's obviously 190, and the additional 300 or 32 million that we have from the state, it's in excess of 210 million. And the total Measure G, was started out as 120, and then was refinanced as 150. So you can see the magnitude of what's facing the college. Any questions about that? If you have any questions, Dwight can answer them. So this is the schedule I talked about. They're going to make a recommendation to the board on February 6th. And then in mid-March, they're going to start looking at selling the bonds and closing. So the funds will be in the bank with the county, I believe, sometime in April. And so that triggers certain other time frames that certain things need to happen within the first 6 months and then within the first 3 years. And so there's a lot of work to do. Just some, as we talk about the program implementation, just some definitions. Program management is a term, for basically managing the entire $348 million or plus worth of work. And then when you hear the term project management, that's specific to each project. And then construction management is the construction phase of the particular projects. And of course, design team, architects, crazy architects, engineers, landscape architects. So as you enter into the actual implementation phase, where the college is now is basically in the startup phase. And the presentation that I made to the board on December 5th was focused strictly on that program planning element, how important that was, and what steps needed to happen. As the who's doing that? and so each each project goes through a cycle where it's programmed, defined, designed, procured, meaning it gets bid out, and then construction, and then commissioning, move-in, and then feedback. And because this is going to be a 15 to 20 year program, there's a lot of information that is going to be learned from each project that can be fed back into future projects. What was right, what's working, what's not working. And so that's kind of the overview of that process. Julian, I made this presentation to the board last week, and talking about drilling down a little bit more a lot more into detail on what's going to be happening, and he's identified a lot of detail related to the next 30 days, and if you want to know the detail, it'll be on the website. I just don't want to get into a lot of detail here. And then he's identified next 60 days. Certain things need to happen, including the oversight committee bylaws. Next 90 days after that, certain things need to happen. And you see there's a lot of going to be happening at one time. And then there's some long-term issues that need to be resolved. So that's kind of where we came from. The other thing is that you have to have a very sophisticated team, both in terms of consultants and in terms of staff in-house. Now, this is a preliminary organization chart, and there's going to be a presentation, I believe, again to the board to get authorization to move forward with hiring, I believe, as many as 5 additional folks that would be working for the college as working directly on the bond program. They would be, their salaries would be paid for out of the bond, which is allowed by law. And so there'd be a new director of Measure Q projects, which would, according to this organization chart, would work side by side with Dwight and his group. Patrick, it looks like you're going to get three more people in your group. You ready for them? And then an administrative assistant. And I think that this is still subject to finalization with the board. And then, as we said, there's a very need for additional consulting services. As Kitchel's been providing PMC on Measure G, but the college is going through a process of recompeting, and there's actually tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Laura, have you gotten any? So there's they're requesting statements of qualifications, from firms to manage the bond. And that's what's going on currently. And then, as I said, the internal staff levels are potentially 5 of them funded by the Measure Q funds. And I think that's it. So now, you guys have been a great audience, and we're we can answer any questions. If you have any complaints, you direct them.
That's no complaints.
I have a question about the 1800A building with the vocational technologies. Who all is going to be in there? Is the building going to be expanded for additional square footage to accommodate those classrooms and that? Because a lot of us at the present time, we have outgrown our space, and I think we need to kind of consider that as we're looking forward with all of our buildings to allow for expansion and changes in the future.
Yeah, I think the plan has a view from cosmetology. Yeah, I don't know how I guessed that, but there's going to be a cosmetology building that will be there. So 1800A, 1800B, all of that will be renovated. And we got a complaint this morning from a citizen of the college that said that there are no bathrooms there, so we'll have to have bathrooms and all of that. So yes, we're going to do a lot of work from the career tech perspective with 1800 and add on to what's already. Okay. Yes.
I'm from math department, and I have a question. I have several. But the most important, how, if we demolish building which is 1500 is supposed to be demolished, where do these people go? They go to temporary housing, and then, and where do the students go? And also, second of this is we also outgrew our space. Our offices on 1500 very small. Our students are sitting on the floor between classes, which is a normal procedure that you walk through bodies to your class. And just sheer space, square footage of two-storage building, if you clump science and math together, would not come up and include elevators and all stuff. They would not come up to be correct, would not expand our building at all, would not give us any extra rooms at all in terms of mathematics. I guess in science will be the same. And when we were selling the idea to our voters, we actually were talking about science, because most of all we needed science, which is a pivoting here on this campus department that brings Solana to new technologies and all of it. What I see here, science and somewhere on the third place in terms of order, sequential order, and also I question the wisdom of clumping together science in the same building where math is, because of different, a lot of regulations on ventilation that is supposed to be done properly and is extremely expensive. What we deal with, those are cadavers, I don't know how to pronounce it, dead bodies that they deal with, and I don't know what nursing people are doing, because they also need science labs. So these are like space, in terms of space, just like cosmetology is worrying, also how disruptive it is. Because when we canceled previous semester summer classes, we actually shrinked a lot, and it's hard now to bring our FTS back. And I envision that I'm worrying that while we are in temporary housing for math program, in temporary housing as teachers, and in exchange, we do not get science as fast as it is supposed to be because of this bond, because science was #1 priority. And then our students, even though they have this forum place, which is second priority prior to science and math, but what use does it give to students, how useful it is if they still sit in my building on the floor every single day?
Well, I'll try to answer. I don't think that I'm going to remember everything. As at first I thought I would remember, and then by the time I started writing down, I came up with 3 things, and there may be more than 3 that you said. The first thing is, are you saying that we should not combine mathematics and science in one building?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The second one is in terms of space. One of our student trustee, Kayla Salazar, asked the facilities master plan consultant at the board meeting on the 23rd, which I would encourage y'all, whenever Measure Q is on the board, which is going to be almost every board meeting, that it'd be good to attend. She asked that we make sure that not only should we plan for enough space, but we need to plan for expanding the space, because she believes that it doesn't really serve us well if we have a math building and then the math faculty, most of them, or a good number of them, are in 900 as opposed to be in 1500 or 1600, whatever the number of the building is. So I think that we're going to pay very close attention to that, to not only build enough space for what we have now, but also to project whatever it is that we're going to need in the future. Because normally when you build a building, the moment that you occupy the building, you run out of space. That's typical in higher education. But I think this time we're going to, because we have land, we can really expand things. So we're going to really keep that in mind when we do the expansion. The important thing that I would say is that please do not leave it up to me or to Gary or to anybody else to provide the feedback, the constant feedback. You need to keep providing that to us again and again as we do the planning. And most importantly, I would think that you in math and you in science should really get together and start thinking about what it is that you want, so that it's not what we present to you that should go, but rather what you have in conjunction with what we think you could have. If you're not ready to give us data, if you're not ready to give us information to say this is what you believe is going to be the best, chances are you're going to have to live with what we can come up with. So your involvement in the process, and I've been saying this for a while, your involvement in the process is extremely important. Don't leave it up to us. Please be active, be involved. I'm glad to hear of your thought. I think that when we first started the conversation about science, it was supposed to have been just a science building. Somehow, during the other conversations, I think that somebody must have added math to that. And then it became math science building. I thought y'all wanted that, so I thought, well, who am I to say no to that? But anyway, but if you feel that you need to have an expanded math building, a bigger math building, and all of that, I think it's important for you to speak up and let us know that. And I think we'll definitely take the message back if it is what the department wants, as opposed to only one member of the department and what have you. Because if everybody wants to be together in the new building, Joe, she wants you to talk. If everybody wants to be together, but it's only you who don't want to be with the science people, we may build you something all by yourself, and then. Why not? You're putting me in the position and I can put you in the position? No, please.
There is a huge discussion right now going on between math and science people, and Maria, for example, wrote that place that we sandwiched science building, leave alone math, science, in between 700 and 900, does not provide adequate places where those cadavers, dead bodies are rolled through, people. It's not enough parking, and science teachers are actually carting this stuff to their classes, and they need close parking. And to me, I'm a math person, and I understand that all these requirements of ventilation that are very, very strict right now, they suffer people in the science building. I don't know if everybody is aware about it. It's so inadequate. And it will be expensive to Solana at that stage, when already there is a building and you have to provide services. And then another building for nurses, where you also need to have, for all these chemicals, also should be good ventilation. Maybe we have to think that we have them together, and math goes to, I don't know, computer science or something else. We really need, what we need in math, we need a good computer lab. Yes, and I think you would say much better. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, your English is perfect. You said cadaver. Really perfect.
So, just to sort of dovetail into this, I don't know that anybody in math, I'm speaking as someone who's had his office in the science building for the last 19 years, I don't know anybody who has any moral objection to being in with science, but if you look at that picture up there, and it's hard to make out, but the current 300 building is still on that picture.
Yes.
The new math and science building is on that picture. The new math and science building has a smaller footprint than the current science building. Even if it's 2 stories tall, you take the current science building and the current math building, it's not going to fit. Plus, with adding extra stories, you also have to put in elevators and stairwells, so it's not just a add up the square footage type business. So there's a lot of issues with space because math is overcrowded. We just had a department meeting today where we've been asked to add classes. We can't add classes because we have no place to put them. We have offices spread out. Like I said, my office has not been in the science building for 19 years. We've got offices in the 900 building. We do have some in the 15, we have those in the 1500 building. Just making that work is going to be problematic, including then the issues with science and some of the problems we currently have with the science building, which should be remedied in this situation. Point number 2. Okay. Point number 2 is you asked for our input, and I appreciate being asked. What I would like to have is how do we do that? Because I've given input before at previous things, and I was basically told, well, we're not at that step yet. We're at 3,000 or 330,000 feet, and you're talking much lower. And I appreciate that. You know, I have a lot of suggestions about the buildings, things like not doing what they did in the previous bond and putting projector screens covering up most of the blackboards and having lights that you can't turn off so nobody can actually see what's on the projector screen, or improper ductwork so that the heating running means you can't, excuse me, you can't hear the speaker because it's too loud. This is a problem not just in this room. But anyway, those kinds of suggestions nobody wants to hear right now because you're not at that level.
Yeah.
But those are suggestions that we're coming up with right now. And it would be good if we had a place to catalog those suggestions for future reference, because we're not going to know, okay, today's the day we start hearing suggestions about this.
Can I have a great answer to this last one. We have, while we are doing the planning with the consultants, etc., we may be too high. We have at the college an office called Research and Planning. I think that, yeah.
Peter is here, so he knows to do it.
So I think.
Now, is it the construction and planning and research now?
Well, we start with him. We put our documents together, and then we work with them, because that's part of your strategic plan and all of that as well. Your 3-year plan, if you still do them, and those kinds of things, I think would be a good place to start as we are waiting for the education consultants that will work with designing the building from an educational standpoint. I think that we should not lose those ideas. I think that they're very good, and we need to write them down as opposed to just saying them. And then if you want somewhere to catalog them, I'm sure Peter is already thinking of a database where all of that can reside. He is. I know him. He is thinking of some database where all of that can reside, so that when you're ready to go, it's going to be there. The other thing in terms of the priorities, the first priority is really the theater. Is Performing Arts Center. That's our first priority, just because it is infested with all kinds of bad things. And it's a health and safety, so we have to do that one first. And then science is next. I think that's what we have. Even if it is listed as number 3, because we need to wait for the state for more money for the library, so we're not going to start the library until after the state has done certain things, and so science would be next after that. On this campus.
So do you first demolish science?
No, we're not going to demolish science. Science is going to become, oh, you have your own microphone. Science is going to become some other departments, some other programs. So we're not going to, but what we had planned to demolish is math. And if you think that math shouldn't be demolished, etc., we need to talk about that. I think your input at this point is good, as opposed to waiting for us to start digging dirt and then to tell us what you would like. I appreciate hearing them now. So, okay. Sir.
Yeah, so what's the process if we see something on campus that we maybe needs to be maintained and changed in minor. What is the process to go to our department, or is it a dean thing, or is it today?
Yeah, I think, depending on what it is, today we are flying at 30,000. No, if you have some things that you can always suggest them here, but I think for things that are coming down the road, sharing that with your dean, I think is the appropriate. And maybe send a copy to Peter, or Paylene, since they're in planning. I think would be a good way to go. Okay.
I got two things that I'd like to bring up. Is there somebody overseeing the construction, the construction companies that are being contracted through the Measure Q, so they don't screw around or waste any money? And I would like for all the classes required for graduation of a certification program to be offered every semester. Is there someone I can talk to about that?
Yeah, there's a lady named Diane White. I'm using my vice president. Who's in charge of the whole academic instruction thing. What am I going for? What was your first question? Oh, the construction. Yeah, it's the organizational chart. That's what it is. So for the courses, if you would talk either with Dean or actually for all the classes, talk to Vice President White. I think she can give you an answer to your request. I don't know, I have to be frank with you that we can provide every class, every semester, but we can at least let you know when you can expect for certain classes to be offered. The deans are working on a year-long schedule, so this way students will know for the whole year what kind of courses will be offered. I think that's going to help quite a bit. The reason why we can't offer every class every semester is because we just don't have enough students to take certain classes every semester. That's why we can't do that. But at least once a year, or during the time that a student starts, to know that the class is going to be offered, that's something that we have to be able to guarantee you. So the director of Measure Q projects is the person who's going to be overseeing everybody else. As my former students would say, we ain't got no idea. We have not recruited the person yet. This is just planning. We're just discussing what we want to do, but we'll develop a job description that's going to give us somebody who has an idea of how to manage construction, how to supervise people who are doing construction. So that's what we intend to do. Okay? You have your own mic?
I do. So, to dovetail on what Joe was saying, to dovetail on what Joe was saying, I think what makes us nervous in math and science is here at the 30,000 foot level, we're not talking about square footage. And when you look at the demolition of 1,500, which is a really big building, and then you look at giving up 300 to humanities, which is a pretty big building. Together, I think they're 35,000 square feet. And then if you look at the footprint of the proposed math science building, even with 2 stories, it looks smaller. And we're looking to expand. Have I summarized that? Well, so what would make us more comfortable if there just were some rough figures of square footage, and the square footage of the new building equals more than the square footage of the older buildings plus 25% or something. Math is talking about they need 4 additional classrooms. And
no, that's a minimum if we stay in our old building. No,
yes.
No. They want much more, but if we were in the position right now, I think science should get a good building and math should stay and wait till they get their, other building.
Well, Svetlana, this is the time if we're going to do something, we need to really start thinking about it, because after this money is gone, I'll be 96. When it's all gone, it's not likely that we're going to have a lot more. So what we need to do is to start planning. If we want something, this is the time for us to start planning for it. If you feel that you really need a modernized math building, this is a time for you to start asking for it. And I think that if after we've allocated the money to everything else, it's going to be a little bit harder for us to do that. So I wouldn't like for you to say, well, let science go and then someday let's think about math. No, let's think about math right now, okay? Since we are going to give a new building anyway to math, whether it was part of a building or etc., if you feel that it would be better for you to have a new building, an expanded building, or what have you, this is the time to really say that. And I hope that y'all in the math department will really get together and start talking about what it is that you want, and get your document together, get it to Peter. He left because I put him on.
We scared him away.
Yeah, I didn't.
You scared him away with additional duties.
I didn't know what to do. So anyway, and he was there. Yes.
Well, again, what makes us nervous, I think, is that this is the first time that most of the math faculty have heard of the demolition of their building. And Marie Young said, oh, you're going to demolish the building I was in for 32 years. And then on the facilities master plan, there's the word final draft, and voting on the final draft next Wednesday. And that's what makes us nervous.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I've said, to you all, is that our educational master plan and our facilities master plan should not be documents that we put on the shelf and then we're done with them. Meaning that whatever decision we may make on Wednesday, although I don't see that we're going to make any decision. Trustee Honeychurch said he's not in a hurry. Whatever decision we may make, we want to continue to work on refining, because there are opportunities that are going to pop up that we did not see now. I think both from the education master plan perspective and the facilities master plan perspective, we need to be to really be thinking of be able to change as things change, as we get new ideas. And so I think that again, for the math folks, I would say, please, if you don't want to have math/science building, you need to start talking. But I think in terms of the square footage, yes, as you were saying, Jim, we need 100% of what we have, and I was saying to myself, please go to 50%, say 25, and you said 25. So I think that that will serve us well. Casey?
We need to stop, change the tape real quick.
Okay.